Yo, 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 yo. What's happening, good people? Once again, we're here for another live session. Shero Sessions. Waiting on my amazing co-host. Hope y'all feeling good today. Man, my day was amazing. Went to the beach. Got a nice little tan. I don't know if you can see the glow, but glistening over here. I had a good day though. She's arrived. There she is. What's up, sis?
Looks like I'm connecting still. Can you see me? You hear me?
Yeah, I can see you.
All right. Good day, good day.
Yeah, how you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. A little relaxing Sunday on the way. So,
Oh yeah, I'm on spring break, so I'm telling the people about how I went to the beach today. Got a nice little
oh
tan.
man. You're right. Your melanin popping today.
Hey,
That's
no,
awesome. Yeah, we still waiting for spring to spring all the way here in the
yeah.
DMV. So we had some sun yesterday, and now it's back to the rain. So it's just what it is right now. So we get all the cherry blossoms in full bloom.
Man, I know the feeling, man. This weather out here, it's either hot or scolding. So we right now.
All right, we're on the opposite ends.
Yeah,
Yes. You ready to dive in?
yeah, I'm definitely ready to dive into it. So this week we want to talk about the NCAA. We know that it's March Madness. All the everyone are watching the games. People always talking about the men, but we need to shine a light on the women this week because just watching these games
Definitely.
is just inspiring for me. It's so nostalgic too. Just watching the players
Hmm.
right. We got a chance to watch the UConn game last night. What you feeling about that game? Because I saw
Yes.
a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, nah, it was an exciting game, and I was doing some running around throughout the day, and I was like rushing to get back to the house and turn that one on. A lot of hype. I know there's the two freshmen that a lot of people have been talking about, Paige Beckers and um, Jordan. What's
Okay,
Jordan's last name? Caitlin.
Clark, yeah,
Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark. But yeah, no, it was an exciting game. It was really good to see, the pace of the game too. I really enjoyed seeing them getting up and down the floor, quickly and getting buckets. I mean, both teams were really efficient. It was a good game. Yeah.
yeah. Even though at the end kind of ran away with it, you could just still see
Yeah.
it was just an overall team game. But one person that really inspired me was Kristen. What's her last name?
Okay.
Williams. Kristen Williams.
Yes,
Man,
Williams. Yeah. Yeah.
her it made me feel like one of the girls I used to ball with, or me, just the face making. Man, she was going through the defense with the crossover, giving them the
Yeah.
oh.
Yes. All of that. She was.
It was just crazy. Wow, she had like 27 points last night.
Yeah. You said it was close to a triple double.
Yeah, no, she
Yeah.
the other athlete, Avina Westbrook, she almost had a triple double. She was
Okay. Okay.
shy, one rebound shy at a triple double.
Yeah. And I think it's good too. UConn for a lot of years has been, that perennial power that everybody's been trying to chase. But to see Iowa come in there and be competitive, and a lot of the other schools around the country that are starting to do that too. It's good to see talent being spread across the whole country, and that speaks volumes about the talent that's in the pipeline too. People aren't just trying to go to the top schools anymore. Everybody's willing to dive in and make it better. Make the game better, compete, and it's feeling real good right now. I'm loving to see it. I had Jordan Nixon in my mind thinking about the Texas A&M squad. And if you should check that game out on replay, or at least her interview, because the game was so intense, but they ended up going to overtime, and Jordan Nixon is Texas A&M's point guard. So I was watching that game and just seeing how she was just so composed. And me, I'm looking up her stats and everything and all the history behind her, and she had transferred into the school, so it was just like a great story. So she helped lead them to overtime and then hit the game winning layup in overtime. And like her post-game interview was just really emotional. You could just tell she's a leader. She was really soft-spoken, but like just to see how she was able to just lead that team, and she got teary-eyed in the post-game interview. So it was a real feel-good game. That was
Man,
another one.
much passion compared to watching men's basketball. I noticed that the women just show that passion more. Maybe it's just a bias because I'm a woman and I remember how it feels to be playing. But the passion that they show before and after the game, like during warm-ups and everything. One story, well, a young lady that really inspired me, and I didn't know her story. Dee Dee Rogers.
Oh yes, from Baylor.
Yeah, I didn't know her story. I didn't know that she got injured. Her and Moon, I forget Moon's last name. I love her first name. I forget her last name, but they collided in practice.
Yeah.
And yeah, Dee Dee Rogers was paralyzed for over a
Yeah.
month. And to see her back on the court playing for a top team like that, it was my first time
Absolutely.
story. And it was,
Okay.
and not only did she inspire me, but looking at the Baylor squad, I mean, you see how good they look on the court?
They do.
You see how
They do.
I mean, upbeat.
Yeah.
What do you think about
That's
that?
hilarious. No,
Change from
no,
like
it's funny you say that. Two things come to mind. I think, like you said, just her story in general, Dee Dee out in Baylor, and that was a real scary situation in general. But I think just seeing that team come together and like support her, I think that was a big deal as well. And then to obviously like see her bounce back and still be able to compete, like that was a
peace.
big deal. Yeah, that was a real big deal. And not to like switch too far from that, but I'm just thinking about just like how teams are able to come together. And like how leadership matters. One other team that comes to mind right now is like Arizona, who's coached by a former player, Adia Barnes. And Adia played, in the WNBA and all that good stuff. She played at Arizona, so she's coaching her alma mater. But to see that Black woman in leadership, that's a big deal as well. So it's just a lot of good stories that are coming out of the Final Four and out of March Madness right now that we just want to make sure we're highlighting. And you said about just the whole the them and the players and the edges, and there
Yeah,
was a
man.
tweet I ran across.
They got their nails done, hair done,
Right,
everything.
yeah. So Sydney Colson, talking about Texas A&M. I'm reading it, but she played at Texas A&M and she currently plays for the Chicago Sky. So she tweeted out, listen, shout out to the college girlies nowadays with beat faces, lashes, acrylics, and baby hairs. Because my generation used to just hoop ugly. No, because my generation used to just be ugly and hoop. It's just like, that's funny.
We would just
That
wake up.
just wake up, make sure you got your tank top all right, and just go out. Just throw a headband on or something. You might make sure your cornrows are done right, but
Oh,
man, now.
no, but we saw that from the professional players. Like I remember Lisa Leslie, Tina
That's true.
Thomas. They used to look amazing on the court. Shero Swoops used to have her
Okay.
or she back in the day she had her
Yeah.
finger curl. So it's just crazy to see now, and I wonder, is that an impact of social media, or is that just how women are growing up nowadays and how they're changing the
Yeah.
way themselves in public? Because even when we were young, you know, we didn't wear makeup until we got older. Although
Right.
I like to wear makeup, but my homegirls, they weren't wearing, you know, our hair was done, but we weren't,
Yeah.
you know,
You're
focused.
right.
We had jam, we put some jam in our hair, you know, trying to.
It might be a cultural thing, or whatever the trend is right now. I can't say that I wouldn't want to roll my shorts up, at the bottom and stuff. I mean, but it was more trendy for us to wear the baggier clothes back then. I don't know, but I do wonder, whether that's like what is that to say about the culture right now, or is there any pressure for girls to feel like they have to look, if that's their idea of being feminine, to wear your hair a certain way and look girly opposed to looking, I don't know, rough or aggressive, or I don't know. It's something to pay attention to.
I can definitely understand that stigma. We've heard it from, you know, people threatening the WNBA culture, saying, you know, there's so many gay women in the WNBA, or everyone in the
Right.
WNBA look a certain way. And we know how time maybe it's something that's influenced, you know, by their upbringing. You know, their families telling them, you know, I want you to look a certain way on the court to delineate between maybe the rough, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to put a label on anybody, but it's a lot to speak to. I would love to talk to some current players right now, just to feel their perspective on when they go on a court, how they feel they need to present themselves. Is it based on their own personal
Very
beliefs
true.
from the media? Because we all know how big social media is and how much that affects
Hmm.
really.
Indeed. Yep. You're spot on that. Spot
Uh,
on. I wanted to bring one other.
oh, you got another tweet?
Yeah, I do. I got another tweet. Markeisha Grant, she played at University of South Carolina. Um, she's currently a life skills coach. She's one of our followers, so shout out to Savvy Skills.
I don't say.
But she tweeted out, they just let anybody create girls basketball programs these days, and I felt that. We both coached, and you're coaching internationally even now. I just felt that because I think it's a problem, that there aren't qualified people coaching girls programs. And I think, yes, it probably happens on the boys side too, but I think especially with girls programs, for whatever reason, there's this idea that just anybody can coach. And so when she tweeted that, we had a quick back and forth. What do you think about that?
You know, I don't think it's just these days. I think it's been going on all along. How many people's daddies you played for? Think about it.
Right? You're
How
right.
many how many women have been your head coaches? I had a few,
Hmm.
but I don't remember a head as a. Yeah, I just think, you know, these guys, they get their AAU team, and, you know, and maybe
Yeah.
it all comes from a place of, you know, love and heart, because a lot of these fathers, they want to create space for their young girls, so they decide to
Sure.
coach, you know. But for me, it's like, are you bringing the results? Are you treating them fairly? Are you, you know, doing what you got to do as a man to make sure they feel comfortable?
Hmm.
And look at the disparities of female coaches in even in the WNBA. You know,
Right.
and WNBA for winning the NCAA award, um, just for everything that they did over the summer in the bubble with
Hmm.
supporting the Breonna Taylor situation.
Right.
And so we definitely got to shine light on the WNBA for that. But I think it's going to take women, it's going to take us to stand up for ourselves. And,
Definitely.
and if the dad is qualified, or if the homeboy is qualified,
Right.
I would love him to be a coach, you know.
Right.
But disparity, I don't think these organizations particularly seek out qualified coaches. It's more so like,
Hmm.
hey, you want to coach? Okay, you got the job.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, it seems that people think that they can just step in, and I think it happens more with girls, that they can just step in and coach and not be qualified because they're girls. And that's where the problem comes in. If you think that you can just, step in and do nothing because they're girls and not actually teach or cultivate, a good culture, then that's when it becomes a problem. And it's changing people's mindsets around that, that it's not okay to put those types of ideas out there. And it's something we didn't even mention was just a hot topic that came out with Shaq talking and going back and forth with Candace Parker
He was like, "You
about that.
check out my stats," or something. She said. She gave him that side eye. Shaq.
Right, but he, by putting those types of ideas out there, like, oh, we should lower the rim because you guys are girls and it'll make women, and it'll make the game more exciting. It's like, we have to stop people in their tracks when they say things like that, regardless of who it is. And those are just examples of treating us equally, and kind of back to the social media piece. I know another hot topic that has happened, and it came to light because of social media, was the NCAA discrimination and sexism toward the women athletes going into the tournament. And it got brought to light because of social media. So
Yeah.
what's your thoughts around this that's now happened?
When I first saw that video, sad to say, I wasn't surprised, But to see the blatant lack
Yeah,
of concern for the women. You look at the male gym. We don't care about the swag bags and all of that. But come on, the food, I think that's what really touched my heart the most.
sure.
You know, food. You don't even care if these women are eating appropriately.
Right.
They made some excuse like, oh, when we get further into the tournament, we plan to provide. But no, the women have been working hard prior to arriving there. So when they come there,
Yeah.
they experience concern. And so I
Yeah.
am so proud of the young woman who put that on blast, because we needed to see that.
Mm-hmm.
And resilience that these players had despite what was going on, they're still balling. And it kind of just speaks to the way of the woman. No matter what the world has against us, we're still going to rise to the occasion. We're not going to let lack of gym equipment stop us from focusing and doing what we
Right.
have to. But enough is
Right.
enough. Terrible. It was terrible.
Yeah, it was really bad. I definitely think you're right. The food that ticked me off. But the weights, I mean, it's, come on. Like, we are also putting our bodies on the lines, just the same way, the men are preparing. So in swag and principle, no, it's not, it may not be a big thing, but it does talk to what the problem is. If you don't think we're good enough to get the same, quality items, I think that's problematic, and it's definitely the principle for me. But, when I saw that weight room situation or lack thereof, I said, man, that's pretty bad.
Have in my house,
Right.
crazy.
Right.
And I also commend Dawn Staley just for her poignant, letter to the NCAA and how she tied, this is just systematic injustice all over again. She shed light on it and she's vocal. And for you to be one of the few female women, black women coaches in the NCAA, and you're not fearful of using your voice in that way, I just
Good.
admire her. We
Yeah.
talked about her last episode, but
Right.
she's become more, of a vocal leader and an advocate, because now we can hear more from her and use her voice. Back then, we would just think she might do an interview here and there, and we loved her, but to really get into the depth and the soul of what she thinks is really good to have women like Dawn Staley.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, it goes back to what we were saying, hire and qualify. Not just that you just know how to, but you know how to uplift, motivate your
Right.
girls, how to help them through processes like this when the world is trying
Yeah.
to discriminate against them. So
Yeah.
we on as not podcast. It feels like one, but what are some tips? That's why we're here, really, to shed light on some tips that faculty, coaches, even families, anyone could use to help, combat this blatant discrimination. We spoke to
Right.
amazing tip already. Just hiring more women. Hiring more women could really change the scope of what you're doing, and not just hiring women for, I don't want to say low level opportunities, but hiring them as
Hmm.
coaches, administrators,
For sure.
executives. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely making sure that women are in leadership. That's a big tip. And some of these things, while they may take a little longer for us to like see, change. I mean, some like hiring practice that's immediate, but also, attending games and watching games and supporting women's sports, I think is another big tip, because that's us giving viewership, that's giving our dollars as well to support. Um, and actually, I mean, hey, if it's making the world go round, that's what we need to do to like actually see these leagues and games like really be supported in the right way. Like they
Yeah,
have to be funded. So when you tune in by TV, that gets calculated. So the money is, funneling through the system. So I think attending games and highlighting them and talking about them, brings a level of equity too.
yeah,
Yep.
definitely. You're not unable to attend so many highlights on social media you can post. And it doesn't always have to be, because what I see is there's always this highlight of this girl with crazy handle and she crosses over a boy. And like that's the highlight. But I like
Mm,
watching those things where they show girls really maneuvering the game and in an actual game and playing the game, making assists and passing, doing the dirty work, diving on the floor or hitting the
mm-hmm.
buzzer. Like you could just share it and highlight those just as much as you might post LeBron James dunking or
Definitely.
something. Because social media, like you said,
Definitely.
is powerful. So attending the game,
Yeah.
it means so much more now than it did back then. Streaming, like you mentioned, the streaming is a big
Hmm.
thing. So even if you could just log on, it just for it to help
Yeah.
get
That's
you
true.
away. So I
Yeah.
definitely. So first, want to hire more
Yeah.
leadership roles as well as coaching roles. Support the women who are in these roles by attending their games,
Hmm.
promoting. If you're a teacher at a school, promote the game to your class. Tell them, okay, the girls
Yes.
has a game today. I'll be attending the game. It used to make my day. Or one of my coaches or one of my teachers in the
Yeah.
plane,
For sure.
means to a young girl.
Yeah,
So
I'd agree with that. I definitely would agree with that. And just like you said, just empowering, girls to feel like they can aspire to these positions in leadership or what happened. I guess I could also shout out some of the things that's happening in media because now it's important to make sure we have the platforms right. So a lot of times these media platforms are owned by old white men at the end of the day. So the more we can aspire to own, I think there's been like Together that came out. Simone Manuel, black swimmer, she's on that leadership group for Together. And then there was Players TV, which I wasn't familiar with, but they just added a whole onslaught. I think they announced it on the heels of just Women's History Month. But Angel McCautry, um, who else was on there? Uh, Natasha Cloud was in that ownership group. So like to have the aerial powers, and they all have their own interests as well. So to have them be a part of now making decisions to actually, influence what media looks like and the stories that we're telling about ourselves, that's going to be a big shift too. So I think that's got to be another area that we start like really encouraging girls to use their voice and their platforms. And I see some folks joining in, so hello to everybody. But yeah, we're just talking about different tips.
and so what's up, y'all? Thank y'all for joining in.
Yeah,
We're
for
talking
sure.
tips to combat discrimination amongst female athletes. We gave a couple of tips that programs could do, hiring more women in their programs for low-level positions, leadership positions, executive positions, also supporting the young girls who are athletes or aspire to be athletes, you know, by coming to their games or talking to them about the benefits of playing sports. I was reading a lot of
Mm-hmm.
stuff today and just the health benefits, you know, the emotional benefits
Mm.
that girls have from playing sports. These things need to be discussed, you know, by
Right.
everyone, your coaches,
Mm-hmm.
teachers.
Yeah.
So another that leads into the next tip, just talking about their expression, whether it's related to athletes or not. You know, giving kids that language to use when it's time for them to express themselves. It kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier about how social media or just the times have changed when a lot of young girls are coming on the court now with their edges and their hair done not, you know, just really talking to them about how they express themselves and being okay and the women feeling comfortable in their skin. Because I know us growing
Yes.
got a lot of backlash on if we wanted to wear cornrows or we wanted to wear hair.
Mm-hmm.
Some people's parents, and I know for a fact. Luckily, I was blessed. I didn't have a family who was hard on me. But some women, some girls, maybe they quit sports because of that, because they can't
Yeah.
express themselves the way they want in a healthy way. So, what do you think about
You're
that?
absolutely right. That is something that happens for sure. I can remember, for even myself, same similar story, of just not being sure of how to express myself. And I think the more we encourage, leaders and teachers to really be intentional about having that conversation, like that's how we can come against those types of ideas that might form for young girls in sports. And we know the benefits that come from sports, and so making sure that we're talking about those benefits and not saying, oh well, don't do this because you have to fit into this box. And we have to stop doing that.
And then the next tip I would say is applauding the young girls who do voice their opinion themselves. Going back to the young lady who voiced the opinion about the weight room in the NCAA. Back then, we weren't whistleblowers like that. You
Hmm.
know, we stood up for ourselves. We would kind of go into
Right.
we would go into a raggedy gym and just play. You know, but we're
Yeah.
much better than that. Playing on teams where you know the boys basketball team has better uniforms than you. But we would just play. None of that really mattered.
Right.
It's a time of social media, a time where you can use your voice. Although cancel culture is real, and things like this, when it's discriminating against women, people are more supportive. So just
Yes.
and giving space for these young girls to speak up for themselves when they feel discriminated against instead of ignoring what they have to say.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'm thinking about my college days because, we HBCU culture. And I also had friends who didn't play at HBCUs. And I even think about just the differences of the swag and the amenities, that folks at PWIs received. And we didn't get that. We just knew hustle, grind, let's get it done, knowing that there was probably something off. So I also want to, we can tease this, but really dive into this conversation later too. But just the discrimination that happens for Black women and Black girls, which is probably double, triple, than what we see with white girls. And so that needs to be examined too, because I know there's, if we think about it just with basketball, like if 90% of girls that play in NCAA are Black girls, we shouldn't see those types of disparities happening with, equipment and uniforms and things of that sort. So just imagine what's happening with elementary, middle, on the high school level. Those things, it makes it that much harder to actually grow up and receive the benefits of sports when those things are happening. So we do have to make sure these tips that we're giving, we have to make sure they're happening, so we can see the change long term as well.
I agree with
Yeah.
everything. Let's run down real quick. Tip number one: hire more women. Tip number two: if you're in a position to attend more women's events, whether you're working at a school or say your niece plays on a team, attend those
Hmm.
events. Share their images on social media. Um, Tip number
Oh
three:
man, I meant to tell you, talking about that, because the world's opening back up. I went to a high school volleyball game last week, and I was so excited. Right here in it was Howard County, but high school volleyball, man, I'm telling you, I was in there excited. So attending those games and supporting girls, you're right. Like we have to make sure that we're doing that. So when school and things are back in place, making sure we're going to the school events, and as you said, tuning in to the games on your apps, on your television, giving the support to girls and women's sports. We have to do that too. Good tip.
Yes, yes. Tip number 3, just taking those opportunities to discuss gender expression with female athletes that you know, whether it's your daughter, whether it's girls in your class, helping them be comfortable with expressing themselves on the floor or on the field, have it see fit to make them comfortable and play the game, because you don't want to worry about your image while you're trying to compete.
Indeed.
And lastly, applaud those young ladies who are standing up for what's right, or the young men in class who are speaking out if they see a disparity, between the boys' teams versus the girls' teams. We want to uplift all the youth because there's so many benefits to playing sports. And the last thing a young girl wants to think about is discrimination just because she's a girl. And this is kind of the reason I started Shero to champion young Black athletes to present themselves inside of their sport, but find ways to connect the things that they learn outside of the sport with their everyday lives. What you got to say about that, Mo? The tips? You got anything?
Sure. No, you summed it all up. You summed it up for sure. All amazing tips, and I think we want to just build on these tips too. And we certainly would love for everybody to join our squad, whether you're donating. We want you to continue to follow and share everything that we're doing so we can continue to build this community. Thank you to everyone who has donated so far. I know we're getting really close to naming like our first grantee. And again, we would really, really love for everyone to continue to support us. Again, not just by donating, but following and sharing information too. So we can, find some of these issues to just be a voice. I think the more we build our community, we can identify more issues that are happening, so we can go back and continue to give back and help build up the future athletes, current and future athletes.
Amen.
Yes, yes, yes.
We got some things that'll be coming up soon, some special contests, so be on the lookout for that, special prizes.
Yes.
And I want to keep the prize for myself, but it's all good. Don't give it.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Like you said, this week coming up, be on the lookout for contests and giveaways. And also for the month of April, we're looking at, lining up some interviews so we can have some really good content to share with you guys. So please listen out for these interviews coming up also. What else do we have? Yeah, I think we're on the roll. I mean, March Madness is coming up. It's happening now. Championship coming up. It's an exciting time right now. WNBA is coming up. Draft coming up in April. So fun things happening on the horizon for women's sports right now.
So I got one buzzer beater question for you.
Okay.
You see winning the women's NCAA championship?
I'm going with South Carolina. You know me. I'm sticking with South Carolina. I'm sticking with South Carolina. I got to.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Dawn and her. Sticking with Dawn and her.
Yeah.
See them versus UConn because I like good competition. I like a battle. Okay. So I would, but I want to see the GOAT on top at the end of the day.
Yeah, I want to see that. But I will say this too. I don't know if you've seen Maryland yet, but Maryland's looking real good.
If anyone else wins, I would go for Maryland too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited to watch them keep building too. They have a really good freshman who's from the DMV, Andrew Reese. Ashley Owusu, I think she's a sophomore, but she's also from the DMV. But Maryland always pulls the local talent too. But I like seeing them. So we'll see what we got for March Madness for the championship coming in.
All right, y'all. So we're gonna be watching these games. We're gonna keep you updated. If you find any of these tips useful, spread them, share with the world, share this IG Live. It'll be saved on our IG Live platform. DM us if you got any other useful advice for this, because this is a collective group of knowledge, so we would love to hear from everyone on how they feel. If you have anyone in your family who's a high school or middle school athlete who you think can benefit from information like this, send them our social media. We're looking for
Mm-hmm.
men. Other than that, man, it's always a good talk.
Definitely good talking with you.
All right, thank y'all for joining us. Hit us in the DM if you got any questions, all right?
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.